Welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors. Hope you're having a great day as we continue to celebrate every single week, every single Monday at lunchtime, the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi, because we live in the capital of the outdoors in America. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you engaging this show, listening to us on SuperTalk Mississippi radio network, or on SuperTalk Outdoors at supertalk.fm, or Amazon Alexa, SuperTalk Mississippi app. You get the drill. Some of you are listening on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcast. It's August the 25th. We really appreciate you being here. Hey, we've got a great show today as we sort of celebrate scholastic shooting programs in the state of Mississippi. And I'm thrilled to bring into the show Gary Holcomb, who's with the Mississippi Scholastic Shooting Program. He's the coordinator. And someone that I referred to before we started the show. He's been on the show. It's been actually since 2023. I don't know why I want to say 1923. 2023 since he's been on the show. But he's kind of the mastermind of the Mississippi Scholastic Shooting Program that has grown dramatically over the years. And I'm just thrilled to have him back on the show to give us the latest. How you been, my friend?
I'm doing well, Ricky. Thank you for the invite back. I'm glad to be here.
It's good to see you. Listen, shooting and scholastic shooting is something that kind of comes natural to you, but let's relive some of that. You got introduced young at your age, and you took a liking to it, and it's where you've chosen to sort of put your stake in your career. Tell us a little bit about that history.
Yeah, so I grew up, in a hunting household, and my dad shot a few little local tournaments back, early on when I was a kid, and I just followed him around and decided that, hey, this is something that I might like to do as well. And so I started shooting with our local 4-H team and our local Scholastic Clay Target Program teams, and just kind of blossomed from there into Mississippi Sporting Clays Association registered targets, and then some at the national level. But like I said, I always say that the Lord's blessed me with more success in this game than I'll ever deserve. So I'm more than happy to give back, and look forward to every opportunity to give back.
Well, you just kind of slipped in there on the national level, but you had a lot of success, didn't you?
A little bit. So at the national level, in the Scholastic Clay Target Program National Championship, I've missed being that national champion by one target twice. So always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
That's awesome. But as a 10-year-old, you were a 4-H champion, and what a great opportunity. Not only to learn about how to succeed in life, which is about you got to put your nose to the grindstone and work hard. And there's a lot about goal setting and achievement and determination, all of those things. I mean, they probably carry over into other parts of your life, but you learned that early in your age, didn't you?
So if you look at all the people that are really good at things, and I'm not saying I'm in that group, but most of them started young, and they had some circumstances go their way. For instance, like having parents that care about the sport or that are around the sport, or they take those circumstances and work them into their success. So, I know that there's more to that than just making do with what the cards you're dealt, but it sure helps.
Listen, when I think about shooting and scholastic shooting, I think about what you're doing to build a skill set, a capability in young people that will hopefully bring them into the outdoors and really kind of create a life's passion. I think about safety. One of the things I have two sons, and we spent a lot of time offshore together as they were growing up. We spent a lot of time in the woods together. And I'd often say the same thing, whether we were in the boat 100 miles offshore or whether we were out in the middle of the woods somewhere, that in doing those things, you often don't get a chance. You often don't get a second chance if you have a safety issue. And so I really drove into them to get it right the first time, to always bring safety into what you're doing. But while you're teaching young people through the Scholastic program how to shoot, but you're teaching them about life and you're teaching them about safety. So what is it that made you sort of dedicate your life to helping develop young people?
Oh man, like I said, there's I want to see the same. I want kids that are coming up to have the same opportunities that I did. Actually, I want more of them to have the same opportunities that I did. And, kind of the reason this whole program exists is to, from the department's aspect, is to sell hunting licenses. So this is going to be a really long-winded way of answering your question, but I'm going to get there, I promise.
Yeah. No problem at all.
The average age of a hunting license sale goes up one every year, so that we're not recruiting outdoorsmen into buying hunting licenses like we have in years past. So ultimately, we want that. That's the goal of the program, but we know that there are so many more objectives for this program, such as teaching responsibility and firearm safety and all that. So I spend at least one weekend at all 3 ranges across the state teaching classes to certify coaches to safely teach their kids how to shoot and how to compete and how to become better human beings ultimately. But that was kind of a long way around to answer your questions. But there's I teach all those guys and ladies that safety is everybody's importance, is everybody's responsibility, and we have to make sure that just like you said, there are no slip ups because there are no second chances.
Yeah, I have seen. About it, yeah, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
What have you seen?
I was just saying that I have seen a few of those of other, not in Mississippi. I've never seen an accident in Mississippi, but there have been accidents across the country, and they're not pretty. So we definitely do not want that around. We want our kids smart enough and experienced enough not to make those. We understand that accidents happen, but we have to hedge the bet as far in our direction as we possibly can.
Where you're driving, as I did into my sons, the notion that you often don't get a second chance. So you got to get it right the first time, and you got to stay focused. And those lessons carry over into other parts of people's lives. And incidentally, the answers you give are terrific because this is a long-form show. One of the things that you mentioned is traveling across the state to the various shooting ranges. For people who have not really grasped the investments that the state of Mississippi has put into those shooting ranges, why don't you give them a sense of what we have there?
So we have 3 shooting ranges across the state. The first one was the Turcotte shooting facility. It's in Canton, Mississippi. And then we opened the McHenry shooting facility down just north of Biloxi. And then the final one, or the latest one, has been the McIver shooting facility up in Sardis, Mississippi. And at all 3 of those ranges, we have a... Go ahead. I was just going to say that the venues that we have at those ranges we have rifle ranges, handgun ranges, shotgun ranges, multiple shotgun ranges, and archery ranges at all 3 of those. So,
yeah, just absolutely incredible investment. So if you live near any of those, or even if you don't, it's worth the drive. You should go check them out. They've gone a long way since the days when we used to go to, I would say, a U.S. Forestry Service firing range out in the middle of nowhere. And essentially what we had is the ability to bring our own targets, and we were firing into a big pile of dirt. And that was it. But, man, these new ranges are incredible. And as he pointed out, instructors and others there to help us really learn what we need to know about it. When you give people sort of the elevator speech about the Mississippi Scholastic shooting program, how do you talk to them about it?
Man, I just we play all these other sports, so why not? Shooting sports are some of the safest things they can possibly do, so why not add that to the repertoire of the list of activities that your school provides? So that's one of the ways that I like to. It's just something that I'm not a very big person. I'm 5'10", 190-ish pounds. So I'm not particularly fast, not particularly strong, but a 12-gauge shotgun shell leaves my shotgun the same speed it does somebody that's 6'4" and 250, or somebody that's that may be wheelchair bound or 4'5" tall and weighs 100 pounds. So it's a very inclusive sport. There's something there for everybody, and it's a game that you can play long after high school, long after college. You can play as long as your physical body will allow you to. So that's kind of how I pitch that to our schools.
What's interesting is you get into a duck blind with someone who's been through this program, and they'll make you look silly. So they
that is exactly right.
They know how to think about this, and if there's an end result in all of this, somebody's got to a duck stamp and a hunting license, and they're a very accurate shooter, and they can cause some real ragging to occur with others who have not taken the time to practice their shooting skills. That is for sure. Hey, one of the things we'll do when we get back on the other side, we're going to talk about how the Mississippi Scholastic shooting program started as a pilot program and where it is today. It's had tremendous success, and it's lucky to be led by someone like Gary Holcomb, who has really kind of dedicated his career to making this one of the better programs in the United States. So when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Gary Holcomb, and we'll get the story on the success of the shooting program here in Mississippi. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We're visiting with Gary Holcomb, and I should have said at the beginning of the show that Gary works with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. I love celebrating the employees who work there. They're so dedicated in so many respects, from law enforcement to their biologists to just the folks in the administration. They all work together to make sure that the outdoor experience here in Mississippi is safe, one we can enjoy, that keeps us the capital of the outdoors in America, and also makes it safe, and also thinks about the next generation. For goodness sakes, we got to be focused on that. And I thought it was interesting the way Gary talked about it. I've always said, as a former CEO, that what gets measured gets done. So you're not just looking at the number of young people you're bringing in and what you're doing to sort of plant in their DNA a love of the outdoors, a love of shooting, and so on. But as Gary pointed out, if you look at the licenses that we give out, we're actually able to do statistical analysis of those licenses. And each year, the people holding those licenses get a little older. And we want it to get younger. We want more young people to be brought into the outdoors. We don't want the number of people who are enjoying shooting sports to decline. That is for sure. And one of the ways that the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks is making a difference is through the Mississippi Scholastic shooting program that Gary, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, is kind of the mastermind of. But you have had good success. Let's kind of rebuild this a little bit. You start with the pilot program. Where are you today? Kind of tell the story of the program.
So before coming on this morning, I checked our total team numbers, and as of this morning, we have 38 public schools, 37 private schools, and 24 clubs. So what I'm working on right now, the month of August is the toughest months of the year because we're registering our kids for this coming season. So I still have a couple of schools and clubs here, and that should be, that 38 should be well above 40 by the end of August. For public schools. So we've got some schools that are that are deciding whether or not they're going to accept this year, but it's definitely growing.
Do you track the number of kids, and how are they doing in terms of the competitive nature of what they do? Give us some sense of that.
So I know that we'll have somewhere around 1,500 kids once registration it closes on September the 3rd. But yes, there are some kids that are taking this very seriously. In fact, if you go to one of our shooting ranges on a Saturday, you'll learn that because there will be no carts to rent. They will all be taken up by our kids, and that are the schools that have decided to take this sport seriously.
You mentioned it a minute ago. I think it's really important to focus on it. You said, kids may be playing other sports, or maybe they're not able to play other sports. Maybe sports is not in them. But this is, when everyone gets into shooting, you don't have to be the tallest, the fastest, the best athlete, although the best athlete can also be a shooter. It's the great equalizer. But you made a point. You said, this is a super safe sport. Why not? And I think some people might think of scholastic shooting and immediately wonder about safety concerns. And the program's got very strict protocols. It's got a great safety record, and we talked a little bit about that at the beginning of the show. But let's harp on that for a second.
Yes, sir. So in Mississippi, we've never had an accident. Actually, the only thing that we've ever had was we had a parent trip on the course one time and had required a Band-Aid. That's the only injury that I've been aware of in the history of our program. But yes, sir, it's as safe as it can possibly be.
Well, listen, one of the we talked about life challenges, but watching a kid deal with hitting tough targets, it does mirror the trials and errors of life, doesn't it?
That absolutely. And so, you take a tough target. There's several ways to work through that, but the better instruction a kid gets early on in life, the better off they're going to be at handling those situations, right? So, it's very important that as we're going through and training these coaches, that we get out good information and that they're able to translate that over to the kids, so that we see a little bit of success. Because nobody wants to do something that they're not successful at, or failing is not fun. So.
Yeah, so you think about the coaches; they come from all walks in life inside those schools. Some are teachers, some are sports coaches. So there's a wide range of people. Give us a sense of the kind of people who are involved in coaching these kids.
So normally it's a coach there that's coaching, or a teacher that's teaching something, or works an employee there for the school if it's a school team, that has a little bit of passion for the outdoors and wants to add something else to their already full plate, just to make sure that the kids are outside and that they're competing and that they're learning firearm safety. But we have lots of coaches around the state that are there that don't have kids inside the program, or that don't have a connection to the school or anything. They're there just because they're passionate about the sport, and we definitely couldn't move the sport forward without them.
Gary, I love the way you said that. You find someone who's already got a full plate. I was in my career, I was always super active in the community. Volunteering was kind of developed into me by my mentors, that you had to give back to the community. And I came to appreciate that if you want someone to do something, find a busy person, because they've already, a busy person is good at prioritizing things and getting things done. And they make some of the best coaches in your case, don't they?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. They do. Like I said, and sometimes, we've had successful football coaches that come over and they don't do well, or we have kids or coaches that come over that have very little coaching experience that automatically jump right to the top. So it's all over the board.
Hey, tell me about a child that just blew you away. I mean, someone that came into this program and didn't have a background in outdoors, that just came into the program and you just wowed you.
Oh, there have been several over the years. I'm just thinking here recently, there have been several that come through the East Rankin Academy. I don't know if you guys are aware, but they've kind of been the perennial powerhouse where they've won most of all of the last state championships. But there were several of those kids that decided young that they were going to take it serious, and they obviously they were tough to beat. But I can think back to Addison Brown or Peyton Lockie at Madison Regional Academy. That there's a couple of kids now, Jackson Wages and Turner Adams up in. They're both in North Mississippi. They're all extremely good shots. They're deciding to take it further than just our high school sport. They're competing at the national level in NSCA, National Sporting Clays Association tournaments.
Well, Gary, if a school's listening to this, whether they're public or private, or maybe even a hunting club, you mentioned hunting club, would want to get involved in the program. When you get that call, what do you say to them, and how do they learn more?
Yeah, the easiest way to reach me is through my email, and what I'll get you there is, they're going to have a couple of questions. What's it cost? What is the liability? And where do we shoot? And when does the season take place? So I'll be able to answer all those questions pretty quickly. So for cost, it's whatever you want to spend on it, and then liability, for the only thing that the school is liable for is transportation. So every competition takes place on a state-owned shooting range, so they're covered by the state's insurance. And then the season, I do all I can, every way possible to make sure that we don't that I can accommodate any other schedule for any other sport. So our shoots happen over 4 days, and you're only there for a couple of hours throughout those 4 days. So I try to make sure that our season works with the other sports. But we shoot all of our qualifiers in the fall, and then the state championships in the spring.
Yeah, some teams do fundraising events. They have sponsors. Mm-hmm. They do a lot to. I mean, the sky's the limit. Some are full bore. Some are doing it on a small budget. But you've seen it all, haven't you?
Yes, sir. And then we also have the Youth Participation Initiative grant, which is a grant that is federal dollars that we allot for programs like, it's not just for MSSP, it's for archery or anything else, that any outdoor education program. But there's, you can apply for those in the spring and you can get that money. But but if we have a school out there now, we still have a couple of weeks to get a school in that if they wanted to participate this year, it is not too late for a school to shoot this year, especially if they're in South Mississippi. I would love for them to reach out to me and get those guys started.
Yeah, give your email address, Gary.
So my email address is Gary, GARY.Holcomb, HOLCOMB @WFP.ms.gov, and all that information is on the department's website if they couldn't understand me there.
Yeah, just do a search on the Mississippi Collegiate Sports. Say the program's name, official name.
The Mississippi Scholastic Shooting Program.
Scholastic. I say collegiate. And that's what kind of messed me up. But hey, listen, it's great, Gary. It's great to reconnect with you. It's been a while since we've had the opportunity to talk, and I'm reminded of the last couple of times that you and I spent together. It's great to have someone in that role who's been in it for a while, helped grow the program, and is still as enthusiastic about the program as you were when you did your pilot program. So thanks for what you do to help bring new people to the outdoors and continue great success. Look forward to having you back soon.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Thank y'all for allowing me to come on one more time.
You bet. Hey, we got a special guest coming on the next segment. We're going to be talking about ducks. We'll see you after this.